Hey guys, Graham here. And before we get to today's episode, I just wanted to remind you about our friends over at The Green Writer. Are you or is someone you love an aspiring author? Well, it is time to try the Green Writer course. The Green Writer is an audacious invitation to writers who aspire to create and share excellent stories. With motivation, inspiration, and instruction, author S.D. Smith invites writers to launch into their own writing adventure with confidence and competence. The aim of this course is to become a green writer, one who is always going and growing. Try 3 free lessons and get the Green Writer at greenwriter.sdsmith.com. Use our code WITHYWINDLE, WITHYWINDLE, for $10 off this great course. All right, on to today's episode.
Hello, Graham.
Hello, David.
Got a joke for you.
Yep.
What lies at the bottom of the ocean and twitches?
What? I don't know. What is it?
A nervous wreck. Just in keeping with my pirate series.
I think that one's really good. I'm going to give that one a 6.
A 6. Okay, I'll take that. What do you got this week?
So, what do you call a train that's always hungry?
A train that is always hungry. Speedy famished.
A choo-choo train. Like chewing.
Yeah,
choo-choo.
Yeah, I got the pun part.
So the sound of the train goes choo-choo, but chewing is also...
Yeah, I get it. But I have a question.
Yeah.
So if it's hungry... So it's always chewing because it's always hungry.
Yeah, that's right.
Got it. Okay.
That's right.
All right. Did you make that up?
No, I did not.
Did you get that from a listener?
I got that from my 7-year-old daughter.
Well, I was going to say it sounds like a Maddie joke. It sounds like Maddie's sense of humor. Therefore, I will give it a... You know what? How about a 6.5?
Whoa. Wait, is that what I gave yours?
You gave me a 6.
Okay, I can't even remember.
I was giving it a little bump.
That's a winning joke.
A winning joke, that's right. You know what? Enough of the nonsense. Let's get on with the nonsense. Welcome back to Withy Windle, a whimsical interactive show for kids who love stories, words, and grown-worthy jokes featuring your favorite authors and illustrators. It's part book club, part game show. It's your weekly adventure through the wild world of wordplay. I am David Kern.
And I'm Graham Pittman.
And this is Season 3, Episode 9, which sadly means we are coming to the end of our 3rd season. But you know what that means?
What?
We're technically closer to Season 4.
Oh, true. And we've already recorded it all.
Don't tell them that. No. False. We have not recorded it all. We have, however,
we have not
recorded the conversation that you're going to hear shortly with Ken Priebe. He is a really fun guy. We talked about his new book, Goblin. We also talked about snacks. Well, we actually talked about goblins a lot and lots of other things. So you're going to hear that in just a minute. And at the end of the episode, we're going to give you the answer to last week's riddle and reveal the official name for the bookstore troll.
Ooh.
Of course, before that, we're going to do book time. We're going to talk about the end of the Phantom Toll Booth. We're going to have another iteration, another segment of lazy words. But of course, first, Graham, we need to have snack time.
Snack time.
And you know what? We have to thank some listeners because Matthew and Maddie Croft, they gave us our very own... What do we call these?
Yeah, so I was actually just Googling this before we jumped on the air here, and I got distracted before I could figure it out. But these are like special chopsticks that sit between your knuckles on your hands, and you just kind of squeeze your fingers together, and the chopsticks go together.
Is that... You're supposed to use them like that? We could also just do this with your index finger and your thumb.
Oh, yeah, you could. True.
Yeah.
True. That's so many ways
to use this. Unlike chopsticks, which are 2 separate sticks that you have to learn how to control, these are...
say like a spring-loaded plastic.
Yeah, like spring-loaded plastic where the 2 things are connected together. And let me say, if you are an artist who, maybe likes to eat Cheetos with chopsticks, this is great because you don't have to try to figure out how to scoop the chopsticks up. You just pick these things up off the desk. And you snatch your snacks. Cheetos.
Snatch.
So, Graham, I have some chips here.
I would call these maybe snatchy grabbers.
Snatchy grabbers. snack grabs,
Snacks.
snack snatchers,
Snack snatch.
snack snatch.
Snack snatch.
Okay, these are some habanero lime
Ooh.
kettle chips. And we're going to test
Wow.
out our snack snatchers with these habanero lime. Give it a go. Let's find out what do you think of both the chips and the snack snatchers.
Snack snatch.
That is a delightful crunch on this chip.
Dropping mine.
Ooh. Ooh. Oh, I'm getting more habanero than lime, but it's a good pain. I like this.
They're delicious.
That's a dense chip.
And look at that. I can snatch my snacks.
Yep.
Snack snatch.
So since we were gifted these 3 or 4 days ago, I've eaten every single piece of food with them. With them, yes. So I'm quite
This is
an
my
expert.
first time.
I'll have to say, soup was rather hard.
Soup was hard with
Soup was hard. Yep.
What did you how did you end up solving that problem?
It just took a long
Just
time.
didn't eat the soup?
No, it just took a long time, several hours, for my breakfast soup.
Well, just to clarify, are we not talking about cereal or are we talking about cereal?
Anyway, so I brought in.
Can we use our snack snatchers with this too?
Oh, definitely.
Snack snatch.
Okay.
So I brought in some Haribo mini rainbow frogs.
And let me tell you, it has always been a dream of mine to eat frogs with snack snatchers.
Yes. If you're going to eat frogs, you might as well use a snack snatcher.
Right. Snack snatch.
And if you're going to eat frogs, you might as well make them mini at the same time, and rainbow,
That's true.
and gummy.
This is a good snack by itself. It's an elite snack with snack snatchers.
Snack snatch.
Man, I'm still burning from that chip.
It's delicious.
So
Wim.
I better wash it down with a Boylan's cream soda.
Yeah, you did bring some cream sodas. We're back. We're back to the unhealthy snacks.
We're feeling a little bit better this week.
That's right.
So immediately,
So we're back to spicy chips, gummy candy, and cream soda.
and Boylan's is one of our favorite brands, as they use cane sugar. And,
No chemicals that we know of.
well, don't go that far. Let's not say things we can't walk back. But I love cream soda, especially a small batch cane sugared cream soda. And one more thing that you haven't seen.
Oh, it's a surprise. Can I use snack snatchers with them?
You can,
Snack snatch.
but they come on a stick.
Oh, okay. Rock candy on a stick.
Rock candy.
Rock candy.
Yeah.
Is this from the Pop Socks family?
This is from the store. We haven't talked about rock candy before. Do you like rock candy?
We're about to find out. I honestly don't know if I've really ever.
You don't know if you've had rock candy? Well, yeah, go for the blue one.
What do I do?
You eat it. I don't know what flavor blue is. It's just blue flavor, I guess.
You just like. It's like Nerds meets a lollipop. Mm-hmm. It's blue raspberry-ish. This would be very hard with snack snatchers.
So I grabbed
I'm gonna try.
I grabbed the white one, which tastes like nothing. So maybe it's snow flavor.
I don't think there's enough pee in it to taste like snow.
So rock candy, like I don't know how it's made, or maybe it's not. Maybe you have to.
It grows on a tree?
No, like you quarry it, like you would any kind of crystal.
Oh, okay.
You have to go to
the quarry.
a rock candy quarry
Rock Candy Mountain.
and hey, go to the rock candy mountain. Put a stick of dynamite, drill a hole, put a stick of dynamite in there, blow up a crevasse.
And then next thing you know, you'll have a perfectly well-shaped batch of candy on a stick.
Yeah.
It's even got this fancy handle.
I love rock candy, and I don't. It's one of those things like I think I really like the texture, and the whole experience of like chewing something that's probably bad for your teeth, and but yeah, I really like it. So I saw it in the store, which is usually you don't.
This looks like something my 3-year-old daughter would want to wear.
Yeah. It looks like if you when you're done with the cotton candy and there's a little bit left.
Yeah.
And then it like sat out for 50 years, maybe it would turn into this.
So you're telling me you gave me something that reminds you of 50-year-old cotton candy And you expect
Well-
me to eat it.
If you don't want it, I will take it back.
Well, you know what? Let's solve that during our break. I'll try to eat it. We'll see how it goes, and we'll be back in a minute with lazy words. Because you know what? I think eating this is probably something that you can't be lazy while doing.
True.
Be right back. All right, guys, we are back with another example of lazy words. Lazy words.
Yeah.
We're back with lazy words. Graham, what was last week's lazy word?
Last week's lazy word, words.
Words, that's right.
Words. Blackberry and blueberry.
It was a lazy word duo. Of course, as we usually do, we workshopped a few, spur of the moment solutions to this lazy word problem.
Correct.
However, we put out a call for some real solutions from truly creative people, i.e. the people who listen to this podcast. What did they come up with, Graham?
Well, Isaac and Charlotte think the blackberry should be called the dark raz. And the blueberry should be called delectable dots.
Delectable dots.
Yeah, I like both of those a
Those
lot.
are good.
John Paul thinks blackberries should be called gnarly berries because of the tangle of vines.
Oh. And they also kind of have just like a gnarly look to them. They look gnarly.
He thinks blueberries should be called naggleberry. Oh. Yeah, I like that a lot. They say that's named after their favorite mom and pop store.
Oh.
When they were a kid. Naggle.
There you go. All right.
Giorgio thinks both of them should be called gross blobs. So, probably not a big fan.
Not a big berry guy?
No, not a big berry guy. Their dad suggests mini grapes for the blackberries.
That's
Like
true.
the clumps of mini grapes to make up a blackberry.
Yeah.
Timothy thinks blueberries should be called cerulean joy.
Okay.
Daniel thinks they should be called
Fancy.
bear's delight.
Bear's delight. Yeah.
Caleb thinks they should be called blueberries. For blackberries, Timothy thinks they should be called nightberries.
Nightberries. Okay.
I like that.
Yep.
I could see that catching on. Daniel insists on Peter Rabbit's favorite berries. And Caleb is sure blackberries. Perfect name. Lydia thinks blueberries should be called juicy jeans. And blackberries should be called black sectioned berry.
Okay. Yeah, because
Adding a little bit in there.
Yep.
Everett thinks blueberries should be called delicious berry. And blackberries should be called black segments. Another segment there. Yeah.
Like how it looks like a bunch of little things put together.
Now, Thaddeus had an interesting idea. He thinks the berries should be called black truck and black car. Now, you're thinking that doesn't make any sense. But here's the thing. Thaddeus is 4. So cut him some slack, will you?
I wasn't thinking those are weird. I was thinking those are great.
Yeah, they are great. Good job, Thaddeus. Lucy thinks blueberries should be called squashberry. Anna thinks they should be called best beautiful blueberry. And William thinks squishberry. The Battens think blackberries should be called mini grape berries. Another mini grape. Or bubble berries. And blueberries should be called earth berries. I like that. Little blue spheres.
All of these are better than just calling it the color that it is.
All right, so there's so many. I have so many. I don't think we can do that many more. Maybe just one more here.
Okay.
Danae thinks they should be called edible sapphires for blueberries,
Okay.
and blackberries beetle eyes.
Beetle eyes.
So wow. I know. We didn't get to all of them, but hopefully in a future episode we will get to yours if we did not.
Yeah, keep sending.
And if we didn't get to yours this time, we probably got to it last time.
Yeah, I mean.
So again, enough of this complaining.
Wait, who's complaining?
I don't know. I'm creating.
You know what?
I'm creating imaginary adversaries.
You know what we should complain about?
What?
The next lazy word.
I knew it.
Because on this week's episode, our new lazy word is what, Graham?
Okay. Imagine. Imagine.
I'm imagining.
You and I are out in the woods.
Okay.
Now, you have taken a walk away from me. But.
Well, I don't want to spend that much time with you.
Correct. Yeah, I get it. It was probably something I said.
Yeah, you smelled.
Well, okay. So you've taken a walk away from me to a point where I can no longer hear you, but I would still like to talk to you far away.
Yeah, even though I'm walking away,
You would
like,
still be
yeah.
able to talk to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, and maybe I might want to talk back to you even though
Yeah.
I've walked away. Yeah.
And maybe even though you've walked away, you're going to keep walking and talking.
Yeah, I might want to talk while I'm walking.
Yes.
Yeah,
So you would
got it.
use your Widdershins. Oh, sorry.
Walkie-talkie.
A walkie-talkie.
Is that what we're talking about
That's
here?
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Walkie-talkie.
Yeah, that's a lazy word.
Super lazy word. This reminds me of the very first one we did, roller coaster. Two actions that we just kind of smushed together and named an object. This thing. Walkie-talkie, though, I'm not mad about it. Like,
What?
I think it's super lazy, and maybe it's just nostalgia. I think it's kind of hilarious. Because it's not just called the walker talker, or like, it's a walkie-talkie. There's something, it's like super
Sounds
playful.
like a robot.
It's super playful. What do you think?
Well, I still think it's lazy, and I still think we need a better name for it.
I'm not disagreeing, but usually I have a little more venom toward these words, and this one is more of a aw shucks expression.
Yeah, it's lazy.
It's pretty lazy, but
I'm not mad. It's just lazy.
fun to say.
What about something like incommunicado?
Ooh, that's good. That's cool. That's a really cool one. You know how sound
Secret chat.
You know, that's very good too. You know how sound operates on a wave,
Yeah.
and running is cooler than walking. What about wave runner?
Well, that's already a thing.
That's
though.
not no. We once we name the walkie-talkie the wave runner, then the wave runner we'd have to rename to something else, and I'm fine with that.
Okay. Okay.
So we co-opt the name.
Okay.
We take it over.
It's Wave Runner. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sound blaster.
Chatbox.
Chatbox.
Chatterbox.
All right,
We've done enough.
We've done enough.
It's time to let the kids send what they think a solution to this lazy word problem is. And Graham, how can the kids do that if they think they know better than we do?
they are going to email us at podcasts@goldberrybooks.com.
Podcasts@goldberrybooks.com. Did I get it right?
That's right.
Saying it exactly 3 seconds after you did?
You got it.
You know what?
You were paying attention.
We could have communicated that even if we were across a field, if we had
The chatterbox.
a set of chatterboxes. That's right. That's right.
This is the last lazy word segment of the season.
That's right, because next week on our 10th episode, it's going to be Question Pathriza, our Question Palooza 3rd edition. And we're going to have a very special guest. We're bringing back Karina Yan Glazer is going to come back and answer just all kinds of questions for the whole time.
So while you're emailing us your lazy word renames, we need you to ask questions of Karina. Now, they can be questions about her new Vanderbeekers book or her new other book.
Or they can just be random questions that you want any of us to answer.
What's her favorite pizza topping? I don't know it. I'd love to know it.
What's her favorite cough drop flavor?
Who's her favorite podcasters?
Does she like to use the left or the right walkie-talkie? Are there left and right walkie-talkies?
Sure.
Okay. Well, when you send us in your names to replace the walkie-talkie lazy word problem, you can also send us your questions for us to answer next week with Karina. All right, guys, that is another lazy word segment. It's time for Book Talk. And we're going to discuss the end of The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. We've come to the end of another book, Graham.
It's incredible. It feels like we just started
Milo's Journey.
Milo's Journey. I was going to say the Railway Children, but then I couldn't remember the name of the book because it was so long ago, and it disproved my point immediately. And it doesn't just feel like
season
yesterday.
1 book?
Yeah.
Well, okay, we're here at the end of The Phantom Tollbooth. Milo's Journey is over. And I just have a very simple question for you now that we're here at the end. What was your favorite thing about this book? You'd read it before.
Yeah.
But what's your favorite thing about reading it this time?
I have read it before, and I remember really loving it. And so I think my favorite thing was revisiting the characters, because like on the last episode, we ran into the terrible Trivium, who I just called No Face Man. And like immediately I had the sensation, like I did when I was like 11, when I saw the little scribble of a doodle of the man. I was like, oh, that's terrifying. And it like made me feel exactly the way I remember feeling. But then like going on this journey with Talk and Humbug and Milo, it just brought back a lot of great memories. But as like a favorite passage, I do like like the beginning when they first get to the town with the market and the words and all the confusion and chaos, and you're starting to get like a feeling like this place is pretty strange. What about you?
Well, I love all of the wordplay, of course. I mean, if you don't like the wordplay and the puns and the double meanings and all those sorts of things, you're going to have a hard time with this book. But I was thinking about how I really like the wordplay related to talk. And the clock jokes, the time jokes, the dog jokes, all the things that go into that character. I really like that. So in this section, we talked about chapters 18, 19, and 20, which are the last 3 chapters of the book. Do you want to give a quick 2-minute summary of what would happen in these 2 chapters?
Yes, I will be brief. Chapter 18, Castle in the Air. They've finally made it through the mountains of ignorance, and they are almost up to the castle in the air where Rhyme and Reason are. But first, they encounter the census taker, who makes them fill out tons and tons of forms, asks them so many questions, and then...
Every adult who reads this book sighs and
Yeah.
wants to take a nap at that point.
And then you come to find out that the census taker is actually taking their senses.
As in, like, their
Senses of smell,
and
taste, and sight, and he's showing them things that only they can see to distract them, to slow them down from their quest. The census taker helps people find what they're not looking for, hear what they're not listening for, run after what they're not chasing, and smell what isn't even there. And then he steals your sense of purpose, your sense of duty, and he destroys your sense of proportion.
But then they do get to the Princess
They do
Bride.
get by him because of he couldn't steal their sense of humor because they had laughter and their bag of sounds that spilled out. So,
Which I suppose is something that this book definitely engages with, is that sense of humor.
so they finally get up to Rhyme and Reason, and it doesn't take long to convince them to come
we'll
back.
come.
Yeah, they are.
And they ride on time because time flies.
They ride on time because time flies. So they get down there and then they get chased by all these creatures.
The triple demons of compromise and so forth.
Yes, so we got the horrible hopping hindsight, the Gorgons of hate. That's right. Overbearing know-it-all, the gross exaggeration. I like
There's
that
a great
one.
picture in the book.
The threadbare excuse. That was a favorite. So they're getting chased by all of those.
But then the armies of wisdom.
Then the armies of wisdom are all amassed, and you come to find out that they had been working together. Milo probably inspired them along his journey, and they're all kind of waiting for them to come back. And all these creatures get scared, crawl back into their holes.
Then we get to the last chapter. And what happens in the last chapter? It's called Goodbye and Hello.
So Milo gets back into his room. He thinks kind of like a Narnian time sequence thing that's happening here. He thinks it's been weeks. It's only been an hour that he's been gone. So he ends up going back to school, but all day he can't wait. He cannot wait to get home because he knows the toll booth's going to be there again and take him somewhere else. But it ends up not being there. There's only a letter waiting for him that lets him know that they hope he had a great time, a satisfactory journey. The toll booth will not be returning to him right now because other boys and girls are waiting to use it too. And then they are quite sure that if he really wants to, he'll find a way to another journey himself, signed, and then it's blurry. He can't read the signature. And then he comes to the end, or right at the end of the book here, he's realizing maybe the toll booth will come back, but he would like to make another trip, but he doesn't know when he'll have the time. He's got so much to do here, so much to make and build and break and to puzzle, and so his imagination is thoroughly awake in the real world.
So I have a question. What do you think Norton Juster, the writer of this book, wants us to experience when we read this book? Sometimes people write books because they want you to get information or teach you a lesson. Not like teach you a lesson, but just teach you a lesson. You know, there's a moral or something like that. Those are sometimes not the best books. Sometimes they just want to entertain you. What do you think this book is going after? What do you think? After having just read it, what do you think he's going for?
Well, it would be easy to say it's just kind of a morality tale, but I don't think it is. Our hero goes on a journey and transforms along the way. That's kind of typical. But in a more overt...
He starts as one kind of person, and by the end of it, he's learned something.
He's learned something new.
Different. Yeah. He's evolved.
Yes. So, and Milo's our protagonist, our main character. He's the one we're rooting for. We're kind of seeing things through his eyes. And he definitely changes along the way. And I think he's Norton, just first name basis Norton.
Yeah. Old Nort.
Old Nort. I think
NJ.
he's very explicit on what he wants us to get out of this book, which I don't know. Should I just list things off? I don't really feel like it. But it's so much fun along the way too. So I think it's meant to entertain and for us to learn.
I think it really wants us to see how much is out there for us to be creative with, whether it's, with words or images or puns. There's so many different things out there that we can, every time you open this book and flip to any random page, you're going to get some creative character name or joke based on words or something like that. Which maybe we should rate the jokes like we do at the beginning of the show. But he really values the sense of creativity and play. And I think he's inviting us as readers to participate in that.
Yeah, I agree. And to show us what we could be missing out on if we just are not paying attention, because there's so many kind of jewels of wordplay in this book, or even a meaning.
Yeah.
That make you sometimes have to stop and think again.
I like that. It's an invitation to pay attention. This book is kind of an invitation. I like the way you put that, you brought that word up. Well, I'm really glad that we had Ken Priebe on, because he talks to us about how much he likes this book.
Yes.
And to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure whether that part makes it in the interview that you're about to hear, but this is one of his favorite books. And so it makes sense to have him on for this season. So is there any final thoughts you have on this book? Anything you want to mention, read, recommend, highlight before we turn it over to Ken Priebe?
I hope that any of the kids who have read this before had a great time going through it again. And I hope that if you were just introduced to this book, maybe it's going to become kind of a lifelong favorite for you.
And if you ever need a joke, then this is a great book to read with your family. You're gonna there's a smorgasbord of great jokes and puns and things like that to just be incessantly annoy people with. Get creative with.
You can most likely open to any page and
find something.
Just find something.
All right. Well, with that, let's introduce you to this week's guest, Ken Priebe. As I mentioned, Ken Priebe is a fan of Norton Juster's The Phantom Tollbooth. He grew up in Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and a childhood shaped by cartoons, books, puppets, birds, and animatronic rock bands. He studied film and animation at the University of Michigan School of Art and Design and Vancouver Institute of Media Arts. And now he lives in Vancouver, Canada with his family. And you might remember that he has a new book out from Bandersnatch Books. It's called Goblin, a Murder Mystery, a book which you have been checking out a little bit, Graham.
I have.
You can get this book from Bandersnatch Books. Go to bandersnatchbooks.com and then use the code WITHYWINDLE to get 10% off. So again, that's bandersnatchbooks.com, and then the code is WITHYWINDLE, WITHYWINDLE. The usual.
The huge.
We had a great time talking with Ken. Graham, on a scale of 0 to 17,000, what would you rate this interview?
Don, I'm going to have to give this one 17 million. Did I do that right?
You did everything wrong. Everything about that was wrong. Everything.
But the number was right.
The number was wrong. Yeah, I'm flabbergasted.
Whatever, Jack. Let's get on to the interview.
All right, here's Ken Priebe. All right, we are here with Ken Priebe. Ken, thanks so much for coming on the podcast and answering some questions for us and talking about snacks and talking about books.
All right, thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
You said you have listened to a few episodes before, so you probably know what's coming now. It's only the most important question you'll be asked on this podcast. I mean, I'm starting to think maybe it's the most important question you'll ever be asked on any podcast. Maybe at any point, at any time in your life. But Ken, Doritos or Cheetos?
Yes. That's my answer for everything.
Oh.
You are going to make me choose, though, aren't you?
Well,
I knew I was in for that.
You know what? Okay, let's maybe we won't make you choose, but if you could just kind of explore your feelings on the various flavors of each of these delectable snacks.
Yes. Well, yeah. To be honest, I did give this some thought, and if I had to choose, I'd say I'm definitely more of a Doritos guy. But I think that what's actually better, and this might disrupt the whole universe of this behind this question, is that there's that, that munchie mix that has like Cheetos and Doritos together with like sun chips and pretzels and
I'm honestly surprised that no one has ever said this before. You may be
am I the first one to actually go there?
Yeah, you are the first one to ever bring up the munchie.
Oh, cool. Well, that's good. You see, to me, that's better than one or the other. But here in Canada, snacks are actually very different. We do have Cheetos. We have most of the things that I grew up with, and that you guys have down there. But here in Canada, we have cheesies, which I'm not really a fan of. They kind of taste like earwax. Now the manufacturers of cheesies are going to send me nasty letters because that's what we do in Canada. But that being said, there are alternatives to Cheetos which are far worse. So if I had to go with Cheetos, I would be okay with it.
Well, if Cheesies were a sponsor of our podcast, we would, rebuff you at this point, but they're not. We can besmirch Cheesies all we want.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
that's good.
Honestly, it sounds made up.
I know. It's not very creative, is it?
No, we have a segment on the podcast called Lazy Words, and that might qualify as lazy brand. The lazy brand.
Lazy branding
should be our new segment.
Lazy snacks.
Lazy snacks, exactly. Okay, so on the food category of question, are you a cookies or cake guy?
Well, I think it depends on the situation. I definitely like both. I am definitely particularly partial to German chocolate cake. If I can get a hand on a German chocolate cake, I'm very, very happy. And so that would be my favorite cake. And I love chocolate chip cookies as well, especially when they're fresh out of the oven. So I'm quite partial to both, I would say, but I think it depends on the context.
So Ken, just mentioning German chocolate cake, what are your feelings on a Black Forest cake?
A Black Forest cake?
Yeah. Are you pro Black Forest?
I'm pro any
like
forest. Yes. Any cake that comes from a forest is good in my book.
Yeah, isn't Black Forest a German cake as well? I was just putting things together in my head.
Is there really a cake
called forests in Germany?
I know there's a Black Forest. What is a Black Forest cake? Pardon my ignorance here.
Oh man, David, you've never had a Black Forest cake?
I mean, maybe I've had it, but I didn't know that it was called that. Like, I may have had a cheesy, but then I thought this is just a knockoff Cheez-It, and then someone was like, "No, that's a cheesy," and so I didn't know I was eating a cheesy. So maybe it was like that. Maybe thought I was eating a Black Forest, a knockoff German chocolate cake, but instead I was eating a Black Forest cake.
So a Black Forest cake is a German like sponge cake, multi-layered, but the thing that really sets it apart is it has cherry tort in it and on it. So it's like cherry chocolate.
Nice.
Never had that.
We're going to make one. Let's make one.
Tonight?
We could do a podcast of us making this cake.
Cool. I'll ask my wife about it because she actually runs a cake decorating business where she bakes and decorates cakes and cookies.
Well, then we don't need to do it. We'll just go to his house and she can bake a cake.
We have lots of leftovers all the time.
Yeah, this sounds better.
Sounds amazing. Yeah. Okay, so we've talked about both savory foods and sweet foods. And are you, if you had to choose, more into savory foods or sweet foods?
Again, yes.
Equal opportunity eater, I see.
Equal opportunity. Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about this too. It's funny because it's like I'm much more of a snacker when it comes to sweets. But when it comes to like an actual meal, I'm much more of a savory person. I don't really like sweetness in my meal, but usually after, I'm not really much of a dessert person.
Oh,
So
interesting.
usually I will usually pass on dessert after a really good meal, but I like having sweets just sort of in between meals or,
Yeah.
and things like that.
Like you want to snack on those chocolate chip cookies right as they come out of the oven.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, and if that was offered to me for dessert, I would never pass that up. So it's all about context.
Right. So if there's a birthday party that involved my children, they finish the dinner, and then before they've really even left the table or anything's been cleared, there's this clamor, this demand for the cake and the ice cream immediately. Graham, does this happen at your house as well?
Oh yeah. If there's any mention of a pause between dinner and dessert, it's like the end of the world.
Yeah, the proletariat rises up. So are you push the chair back from the table, maybe have a little coffee, wait to have your dessert, or at a birthday party, or are you, let's dig in, let's just knock this out right now. Let's enjoy the whole process as quick as possible.
Yeah, I have to let it settle.
Yeah.
If I do have a dessert at a party, I will usually wait a while after I have gorged on the food, and then I will let things settle for a bit. I will hang out. If there is a coffee, I will usually partake of a coffee, because I will partake of coffee anytime, almost. So I suppose another angle to that would be that any dessert, any sweet drink or dessert or snack that has coffee in it, or that goes well with coffee, is definitely my jam as well.
I think we're just illustrating the difference between adult metabolism and children metabolism.
Yeah.
I think that's all that's going on here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which I think is also like what this podcast does pretty much every weekly. It also demonstrates that. Okay, Ken, we've got some questions from the kids here soon, and I'll turn it over to Graham to ask the first one in a second. But before we do that, we would love to give you a chance to talk about your work, and particularly about the Goblin and what's going on with that book and that story, and to kind of tell the kids, what the deal is with that and where that idea came from and all that. And then we've got all those questions from the kids.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Well, first of all, a question for you guys. Have you cracked the code? Because I know that you were talking about it earlier and been looking through it.
We think so. But we don't have a way to verify it. Well, I shouldn't say we.
But we do now. He's right here.
Well, we can't just jump right into spoiler territory. So maybe that's the answer.
Okay,
maybe.
Good. That's okay. It takes you have to look closely and figure it out.
Of course, yeah. That's like one of the best things about it.
Yeah. I think that idea, I don't really know where the idea for the book came from, but the idea to make it into kind of a puzzle of sorts came from a friend of mine sent me a copy of this book called The 11th Hour by Graham Bass. If you've ever seen that, it's like a book from the 80s, I think. And it's sort of a book that has really, really lavish illustrations in it. And there's sort of a puzzle, a bit of a mystery that you're supposed to solve throughout by studying the illustrations. And so I think that's one thing that years ago kind of started the ball rolling on that. But I don't really know exactly. I think that sort of gave me the idea to do a book that was also kind of like a game that had a puzzle inside, because I thought that would be kind of a fun way to do it. And so from there, I like goblins. I like fantasy. I grew up obsessed with movies like The Dark Crystal and Labyrinth, and the work of Brian Froud, the concept artist behind those films that he made back in the 80s with Jim Henson and the Muppet People.
Yeah.
And so that kind of gave me my inspiration from loving those films, and the art and illustrations behind those films kind of gave me an excuse to make a book about goblins.
So for the kids who don't know, I mean, maybe they might remember us doing our little promotional bit for this a couple episodes ago, but what's the basic scenario of the book? And then where can the kids, buy this book?
Yeah, well, the basic concept is that the king of the goblins has been murdered, and there are 26 goblins that have been rounded up as the usual or unusual suspects, as it were. And they are all 26 goblins are on trial for the murder of the king. But the detective who was, and this is all sort of in the prologue, it kind of gives a bit of an introduction to the case and how it unfolded, and the fact that they sort of narrowed it down that there were 3 goblins who committed the crime, but unfortunately, the records from the trial and the conviction and the execution of the 3 goblins who did end up being found to be guilty through a very terrible process called death by Guggle Snark, which is a terrible beast with many, many teeth. Basically, the records have sort of all been mostly forgotten, but the thing about goblins is that they speak in a language called Goblish, which can be translated into English by people who know such things. And once they're all put together in a proper order, there actually is, once Goblish has been translated into English in a book format, there's actually a secret code that is embedded in in each goblin in the book basically has a short poem, which is their testimony that they gave in court. And so those are all transcribed from the court reports in the book. There is a secret and code embedded in there, which gives you, it's kind of a puzzle that you have to figure out to find out which 3 goblins actually committed this dastardly deed, as it were. And so the book is published by Bandersnatch Books, which is a new publishing company by some friends of mine who I met through the Rabbit Room. And they've published a lot of really great, fantastic novels and picture books and poetry books. And so they were looking to do more books with more people, and they were interested in some of the ideas that I told them about, some of the book ideas I had, because I've written a few books. I have other books always in the works that I'm working on. And they said, we like this one. Why don't we do this together? We'll publish it for you. I said, sure, that would be awesome. That would be a lot of fun.
Nice.
And on the Bandersnatch website, so that's where you can order the book, is through bandersnatchbooks.com. And if you solve the crime and crack the code and figure out through the puzzle inside the book which 3 goblins committed the crime, you can actually go a step further. And there's a secret page on the Bandersnatch Books website that will tell you not only, now that you know who did it, it tells you how they did it and why they did it. So there's a bit of a secret bonus chapter, which is now on the Bandersnatch Books.
Oh, nice. That's fun. So have you heard about this book called Cain's Jawbone by any chance? By Edward
I have not.
Mathers. So it was published in 1934 it's a puzzle book, and it's not very long. I think it's like 100 pages. It was originally, I believe he was originally a crossword puzzle writer.
Mm-hmm.
And so he created, it's a murder mystery book. I think it's got maybe 6 different mysteries in it, and you solve them through these puzzles that they give you in the book. And as of not that long ago, only 5 people ever have solved it. And it went out of print for a long time. And then during the pandemic, when everything was kind of shut down, there's this thing on TikTok called Book Talk, and it got a lot of chatter on there. And so then it got reprinted. And since then, 1 more person has solved it. So I think it's up to like 5 or 6 people total. I don't know what the exact number is, but that's what I was told. So it sounds like something that's right up your alley, but this is like, that's for adults. So this one seems like it's like the perfect book like that for kids.
Wow, that sounds cool. I love stuff like that.
So if they
Cain's Jawbone.
If this book's like 100 years old, like, is there a keeper of the answer somewhere? Like, how do we know this new person actually solved it?
Well, you have to. The solution has never been made public, but it's there's a keeper of the solution, and you have to
keep an immortal being of some kind.
I don't know about their immortality. I can't vouch for that. That seems unlikely though. But
he probably lives in a cave somewhere on an island that's guarded by harpies.
So there was a guy named John Finnemer. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a guy named John Finnemore, who's a comedian and crossword compiler who solved it, and it took him 6 months from.
Oh man.
He solved it in November 2020. It looks like.
I really like this idea of this guy in a cave on an island, but I like it. I like thinking like he's waiting for 7 people to solve it,
Right.
because he's cursed, and when 7 people actually solve it, he gets to leave this island and regain his mortality, because he's realized immortality on an island is not worth it.
That's a good story right there.
It does seem like it's getting a little away from the original topic of conversation, though.
Yeah, it's getting better.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
I like it.
We've got lots of questions from the kids, so let's try to get to a few of those before we get to our word of the week and of course our puzzle that you have so craftily and cruelly compiled for Ken.
So Leah is wondering, since Ken is both an author and an illustrator, did he always want to be both, one or the other, or neither?
Wow, that's a good question. Well, ever since I was a kid, I was doing both. I was pretty much from the time that I learned how to talk, and starting by dictating stories to my mom, who would write them down or type them out on a typewriter. And then from there, once I learned how to write, I was always writing and illustrating my own stories and writing books. So that's pretty much what I did all through school. But I also liked movies a lot. And so when I grew up and when I got to college, I started doing animation as well. So I've been an animator for many years, in addition to writing books, which is kind of what I'm doing more of nowadays. I've kind of come around full circle and kind of come back to my bookmaking roots, as it were. But the drawing and the writing together have always been kind of, I think, close, very, very close. But when I got into high school, I didn't write as much when I got into high school, but I was always drawing, and I was always painting and doing cartoons and things like that, which kind of led into animation. And now I'm kind of back where I started, into both the writing and the drawing together.
So Sebastian, he asks, he actually says, "Your style is so cool!" ! And he says, "I like the black and white spooky nature of it. Has this always been your primary style? Do you illustrate in color too?"
I do not illustrate in color. I've tried illustrating in color. I'm not particularly good at it. I need to learn how to get better at illustrating in color. I've done a lot of painting. I grew up doing oil painting, so I've done a lot of color art in sort of former lives of mine, but I generally tend to stick with black and white. That's where I feel most comfortable. I think because I did animation for so long, because when you're doing animation, you basically do all the animation by hand and you draw the characters just as a rough drawing. And then as an outline, you do over top of the rough drawing. And coloring it in is usually somebody else's job. So because I did animation for so long, I kind of got used to just drawing. And then when I started, now I like Sebastian's name very much, because there's a character named Sebastian J. Thrupp in a book that I wrote called Gnomes of the Cheese Forest, which is the first book that I self-published for kids in 2018. It's a collection of poetry. And one of the stories in there is about a boy named Sebastian J. Thrupp, who spends all his time looking up at the sky and the birds and the trees. And his neck actually gets stuck that way. And it has a curious effect on the townspeople where he lives. So he has to learn how to adapt, and he has a big impact on the lives of the people around him.
So how did you get into the animation side of things, and like what? And I guess part of what I'm asking is, what were some of the inspirations for your work? I mean, were you watching, for example, it could be 1935 Disney stuff, Steamboat Willie or something like that, or whatever his name was, or what? Like, what are the things that kind of like motivated you to want to be in that world?
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up with Disney all the time. You know, I loved the old stuff, even, you know, the Disney films from the 1930s and 40s and 50s, especially. And, you know, reissue Disney film back. This is, you know, back in the day in the 70s and 80s when I was a kid, you know, it's like they would reissue Disney films into the theaters. That was the only way you could see them because you didn't have, you know, we didn't have.
There's no Disney Plus.
There's no Disney Plus. There was a thing called a video store eventually where you would actually go to a store and get a little box of popcorn and they'd give you this little plastic box with this little thing inside called a video cassette. And you would feed it to this monster who would then you push a button on your TV and Donald Duck would be there. You know? But yeah, I grew up with Disney. I grew up with the Muppets. I grew up with everything that Jim Henson was my hero to this day. So, of course, I loved Star Wars as well. My whole childhood was pretty much Disney, Muppets, and Star Wars and other random films like The Last Starfighter and The Secret of Nim, which is my favorite animated film of all time. When I got into college, it was Wallace and Gromit came out. I caught Wallace and Gromit on television, a clay animation short film, and of course the film The Nightmare Before Christmas, which is another one of my favorite films of all time. And kind of seeing those around the same time got me into stop motion animation, which is a different form of animation where you move clay figures or puppets a frame at a time. And it's very time consuming and you have to be a little bit insane to even think about trying it because it takes a very long time. But I got into that. So, you know, I've always loved drawing and I've loved doing voices and music and just the whole process. But whether it's books or animation or film or whatever, it's all storytelling, really. It's the same tools of storytelling apply to all of them. There's just different ways of doing it. So.
My kids are really into stop motion, trying to make stop motion stuff, and now you know, like kids have apps that help them do it and kind of like walk.
It's a lot easier to do now.
Yeah. Back in the day when I was in college, you had to do it on film, and you had no idea what you had until you sent the film back to the lab and got it back, and then you realized that you overexposed everything or underexposed everything. None of it was usable.
Yeah, and every 24 to 36 photos, you have to change the film.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It was a lot harder then.
All right, so shifting gears a little bit, John wants to know what your favorite board game is.
Oh, okay. Well, my favorite board game when I was a kid was Mousetrap. But there's a game that I really like now. My favorite board game now is a game called Illumat, which was designed by some people in my favorite rock band, which is the Decemberists. They're sort of a folk rock band from Portland, and they designed a board game called Illumat, which is kind of like a card game and a board game all rolled together. And it's a lot of fun. The kids and I have enjoyed playing that and really, really enjoy that. So I'd say that's probably my favorite board game.
And the lead singer of that band is also himself a writer, is he not?
He is.
Yeah. One
of my favorite writers, yes, of the Wildwood Chronicles, which I absolutely adore.
So that's kind of brings me to a question I'd like to follow up with here. Do you like the board games that are like, do you want a strategy game? Do you want it to just be like about, you know, let's spend 2 hours just kind of hanging out? Do you need to like stomp your foot on someone and defeat them?
Wow. That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that.
I guess there's more than options than just those two.
Yeah. I'm not much of a strategy game type person. Illumat involves a little bit of strategy, and I enjoy that kind of strategy when it comes to beating somebody with numbers and whatnot. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really much of a gamer, but there are certain games that I enjoy, and that goes for video games as well. But I don't know. There's just something about a board game has to sort of not only be fun, but it has to be the board itself has to be fun to look at. Just something about the atmosphere that's created by when you get the board out and you get all the pieces out and things like that. You know, there's a whole art and science to it. I think there's other board games I like. I learned how to play chess actually not that long ago. Only in the past few years. I'm notorious for being late to the party a lot of the times with certain things.
Well, at least you're ahead of at least you're not late to the cheesies party.
That's right. Yeah, I'm always late to the party for things that seem to matter the most.
Well, if it's any consolation, in the history of chess, we're all pretty late to the party.
Ah, yes.
Well, also your son is
That's true.
Well, I don't want to say it. I don't say nice things about Rowan on the podcast.
No, I don't want to talk about his chess prowess because like the day he beat me and continues to beat me, it just hurts all the time. So let's move on.
Nice.
Isaac is wondering, what is one thing that inspired you to write The Ice Cream Truck at Midnight? And he seems to be pretty specific. He does not want two things.
What is the one thing?
One thing.
Oh, the one thing?
No, he just said one thing, not the
one thing. Yeah. Okay. That's a very good question because that's one of those stories that I don't know where it came from. Sometimes I can point to a specific thing that somebody said. Like when I wrote my poetry books, Gnomes of the Cheese Forest and Let There Be Owls Everywhere, there's certain poems that were based on things that my kids said. There's other poems that were based on weird dreams that I had. Other poems that, and other stories. I have no idea where ideas come from. They probably come from that wizard on the island that we were talking about earlier, who lives in the cave and knows the secrets to this mysterious 1930s book. Maybe all ideas come from him. Maybe he sends out messenger pigeons to our brains. I don't know. That was one that I think I know there's a lot of things in that story that come from my own life. Like it's the title story to The Ice Cream Truck at Midnight collection of short stories that I did. And the children in that story, their names are all based on kids from my own neighborhood growing up. So those are all real childhood friends of mine, at least by name. There's a reference in there to Madeleine L'Engle's book, Walking on Water, where she talks about this childhood memory that she had of going down her grandmother's stairs without touching them. That means a lot to me because I've actually done that. I actually have a childhood memory of going downstairs without touching them, but I forgot how to do it. So some of the I know it's one of the boons of my existence. So I forgot how that works. But that being said, I would say that's probably my long-winded way of saying that there's a lot of things in that story that are where I can point to kind of where they came from. But as for the whole concept of a mysterious ghost who shows up in the middle of the night in an ice cream truck with an owl sitting on top to wake kids up so that they can eat popsicles at midnight, I have no idea why I came up with that.
I like that. I like the mystery of that. That there's not a good answer for that. I like that. I'll have to say, The Ice Cream Truck at Midnight is one of my favorite book titles I think I've ever heard.
Thanks.
And that cover is spectacular.
Thanks very much.
Okay,
yeah,
so
that was a fun one to write.
So there's a question that we wanted to ask you, and I think this is a good time to ask it because it's about you're talking about like where ideas come from, and so I'm curious about your writing routines. I guess is the way of putting it. Like you said, sometimes you might get an idea from a dream, or you just never know where stuff comes from. Do you have a routine that kind of captures these ideas and then and like allows you to turn them into something, or how do you go about taking a story from just like some kind of concept to an actual thing is put in people's hands for them to read? And I'm not talking about the publication side, but just like what is your process for making that happen, the part that you're responsible for?
Well, I can't reclaim responsibility for everything because, like I said, a lot of ideas I don't know where they come from. But yeah, like the whole process, the routine, I don't know. I don't have a regular routine because I do have a day job at a media arts school here in Vancouver called Van Arts. And I have, a family and kids and activities and housework and other things that go on. So I basically try to I have a notebook with me and will try to jot ideas down. If I don't have my notebook with me, I will email an idea to myself on my phone. A lot of times if I'm commuting back and forth to work, ideas will just sort of show up. They will pop into my head from, the old man on the island or whoever sends them to me. And, but I think that's a really key thing is that, when you do, unless you're a full-time writer, which I'm not a full-time writer, but I'd like to think I'm a full-time creative. And so I'm always thinking about the projects I want to do. Even when I'm not working on stuff, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
That really helps.
Yeah.
And just sort of finding time wherever it happens to be, wherever I can find the time in between things. And a lot of times, really, I think being bored helps. It's like I think being bored is one of the best things you can do as a creative person because your brain works differently when you're bored. So sometimes it's good to just be silent and just to sit around and think and let the ideas come. Let the ideas sort of percolate on their own. And then when you kind of in that zone and then the ideas kind of start, it's kind of like a faucet. Sometimes the ideas will flow really, really quickly and you have to kind of catch up to catch them all.
Yeah.
And other times it's a bit more of a drip or there's maybe something clogged, but there's always something flowing through that faucet. It's just that there's kind of, I'm totally botching up this faucet metaphor, but
it's working.
I think you guys have talked to enough authors. I think you kind of know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right. There's all these different, and everybody has a different way. And I love how a lot of the authors that you guys have spoken with here, have different answers to this question. And I think that's really reassuring, especially for kids that want to write, because there's no right or wrong way to do it. It depends on which stage of life you're at, and it depends on how you work and how you think. And, but I think the important thing is catching those ideas when they do come to you, because if you don't do that, they will leave and they'll fly away into the netherworld of wherever ideas go if you don't catch them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you will never find them again. There's been many moments where I had an idea and I knew that I had a good idea, right? Or something came to me and I didn't write it down and I never found it. So now they're all trapped in a puzzle book that nobody can solve.
Yeah, it's
I keep coming back to that because I'm fascinated by it.
Yeah, the creative process is just strange. There's this thing that sometimes you'll see writers say, you should write because you have to, or like you feel like it's the only thing you can do, or you're just drawn to it in a way that's like you couldn't see yourself doing anything else. And I think that for a lot of kids, that's a little bit, I don't know if I want to say off-putting, but weird, because, kids can see themselves doing all kinds of stuff. And even kids who want to write, like I like to write, but I could also spend my time doing a lot of other things. So I kind of don't like that answer when people say, writer, if you don't feel like you have to write all the time, or like, if you don't write, you won't be happy, then I don't know. I don't like that answer because, there's lots of ways people can be happy, and it's true. That's true for some people, but it doesn't mean you're not a writer if writing's not the only thing you ever want to do, or as someone like you work on a lot of different kinds of creative forms. So just the way writers think about this is interesting to me.
Well, I love so many different things. I love puppetry. I love animation. I love movies. I love music. I love books. So I mean, for me, sometimes it is very, very daunting to kind of think about what's the one thing I really want to focus on. I didn't write for years. While I was in the animation world, I was kind of focused on that for a long time. But I don't consider any of that time wasted, because all of those, being an animator for about 20 years helped me to be a better illustrator. And writing and illustrating books is kind of where my heart, I still do animation occasionally. I think I'll always be involved with animation one way or another here and there. And I've done animation workshops with kids as well, which is a lot of fun. We were talking about that before. So I kind of dabble in different things because there's so many things you can do but they all kind of feed into each other.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think not writing or not creating and just talking with people and listening to other stories and reading different kinds of books and traveling and seeing different places, just living your life and experiencing different things, all kind of soaks into your brain, and then it'll come out when you do something creative.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is from Adelaide, and it's a good one. She wants to know who your favorite character is in Goblibet.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe you could do like your top 3 or something like that.
I don't know. I like them all for different reasons. A lot of them, they were really fun to draw. They were really fun to come up with. I like Chronia Pruvis, the librarian. I think she has a really great face, which is very piercing and kind of this face that's kind of friendly, but you're not sure if it's friendly or not. They all kind of have that. Well, I mean, they're all being tried for murder. So I don't really think you can trust any of them completely. I do like the Lum, which is the mysterious shape. I like the ventriloquist. I like the last one, the candlestick maker. He was a lot of fun to draw. They each have a personality. They each have a story, some of which I don't know. I'm not privy to all the details of. But, they all have their little lives. Well, 3 of them don't anymore because they were executed. I won't say which one. 3 of them are definitely not with us any longer. But it's up to the reader to figure that out. And I'm not going to drop any clues.
Yeah. So the ones you just pointed out were the ones that are my favorite ones.
Which ones are your favorites? I'm more interested in that.
I couldn't remember the Lum's name, but like that one just like jumps off right away. And then the last one, I was just going to call him Candly Man because I don't have the book in front of me, but that one. And then the only one who I feel like is definitively cute is the one on the cover, who's also on the interior as well.
Yeah. Scarbonicus Flim.
Definitively cute.
Yeah, he's the monk. Right.
I think he's adorable.
Oh, thanks.
Maybe
I'll tell him you said that. He doesn't speak though, so of course he's a monk. He's taken a vow of silence.
Well, that might be why he's so adorable.
Maybe. Well, it's like he's like dopey, I mean, like the characters who don't speak. There's something cute and endearing about that. I don't know why that is, but
well, Graham, it is time. It is time for the quiz. It's quiz time.
It is time for the quiz.
Ken, are you ready to endure the hardest quiz you have ever taken?
I think I'm going to have to be.
I was going to say it's probably not going to be that, so don't gear up for the hardest quiz you've ever taken, but maybe the second hardest.
Okay.
All right. So, Ken, I have created 5 questions for you. And what better topic to give Ken Priebe a quiz on than goblins? So this is the Ken Priebe Goblin quiz. I don't think there was another option. Like, this is the only option. Okay, so question number 1. With its pink skin, elongated, flattened snout, protruding jaws that are filled with teeth that resemble nails, the goblin shark truly lives up to its name. This predator of the deep has a large, oily liver, making it neutrally buoyant. This means that a goblin shark can lazily and creepily drift toward its prey. If you were to come up with an insult for a fellow human based on the features of the goblin shark, which of these would be the best way to alert them to your displeasure? Okay, here are the options.
Okay.
They're all gonna start with you, sir. Okay, so you, sir, are an oily livered drifter.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
Option B. You, sir, are an elongated sea searcher. Option C. You, sir, are a protruding jawed bottom feeder. Or option D. You, sir, are a nail-toothed snout face.
I like C. I think I would go with C.
A protruding jawed bottom feeder?
Yes.
Oh, that's particularly hurtful. That was the one that I felt that would be the truest insult of all of these.
What was A?
Well, oily livered.
Oily livered.
But I think protruding jawed bottom feeders is a great answer.
Yeah, protruding
That's great.
jaws is something everyone would see. If you have an oily liver, it's just kind of like
You can hide it.
Your insides aren't great,
hide
but I'm not going to notice.
Yeah. I have to say, I love the phrase neutrally buoyant.
Yeah, I know. It's like not buoyant enough to rise up.
That is absolutely brilliant.
So kids, with your parents' permission, you can go ahead and Google goblin shark. They are disturbingly scary creatures.
I'm going to do that right now while you ask the next question.
No, I don't want to hear your screeches as I'm trying to ask the next question.
I do hear they're endangered, though.
Okay. Question number 2.
Okay.
In the Harry Potter series, everybody knows if you have a treasure to store, you should lock it up safe with the goblins of Gringotts Bank.
Of course.
If you, Ken, were a wizard, what special security measures would you enchant your vault to have? Go.
Security measures to guard the bank. I would definitely have to employ a few baby goggle snarks.
Ooh.
Now, the goggle snark is a very, very large beast, but they do start off small, and they can be harvested from certain nests and places where they are sold. And so if you put a whole bunch of goggle snarks in a semicircle, they all act with one hive mind. Anybody who crosses their path will be immediately and hideously gnawed to death, and it is not pleasant. That in itself would keep anybody away from any bank, because you do not mess with goggle snarks, whether they are one fully grown or a hive mind of babies. I am not really sure which is worse. I've heard terrible things about both.
So my intuition, David, was correct that Ken would have an answer for this question, and it would be an excellent one. We're marking that as correct.
Yeah,
Good.
I don't think there's any chance that one's wrong.
No.
Full points.
Question number 3. If you were to have one of these goblins as a parent, which would you choose? And this question, I guess, presupposes that you have to pick one of these as your parent. Option A, the Goblin Chief from The Hobbit.
Okay.
Option B, the Green Goblin, villain from Spider-Man.
Right.
Or option C, Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth.
From Labyrinth. I was actually, it was on the tip of my tongue to say, can I choose Jareth? Right when you said Jareth as an option. So that would definitely be my answer.
So having Jareth as a dad, you think that'd be a lot of fun?
Having David Bowie as a dad would be awesome. I don't care who he is. He could be Ziggy Stardust or the Thin White Duke for all I care.
There's a bunch of kids
I
listening
miss.
who were like, what?
Yeah. Hey, look it up, Ziggy Stardust. Or ask mom and dad. They'll know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I miss David Bowie greatly. He's another. I want him to be my dad.
All right, we're marking that one as correct. The Green Goblin, too ambitious. I would say the Goblin Chief, you don't want to be anywhere near that guy.
Limited mental capacity.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unlimited appetite. Question number 4.
Okay.
Goblin Valley State Park is located in central Utah. And it's so named because of the thousands of hoodoos, which are formations of mushroom-shaped rocks, some as tall as several yards, that reside there. I guess they kind of look like goblins or things goblins would like. That's why they named this park Goblin Valley. My question to you, if you were told that at midnight on the 3rd full moon of the year, goblins actually did visit that place, would you wait there to greet them? And if yes, which of these items would you bring with you and why? Option A, the silver lantern filled with the oil from a goblin shark's liver. Option B, the vapors of truth drawn from the cistern of Phantastes. Option C, the amulet that is not an amulet. Or, sorry. Or option D, Goblibet, so they could sign it.
Oh. Again, I'm going to have to go with C because that amulet that is not an amulet is one of the greatest things I've ever heard.
It's a very wise choice.
I'm partial to amulets because of my Secret of Nim fanboy qualities. And just the very word amulet has a lot of mystery and wonderfulness to it.
So this is an interesting question because you could have gone with B, C, or D, and they'd all be right. But A, you never want to bring a silver lantern into this Goblin Valley. That's certain death. So that is correct. Question number 5.
I have a question. Amulets that are not amulets. I need to explore this a little bit further. So,
if you do not know the amulet that is not an amulet, we cannot disclose any information about that.
Well, I wanted to talk. Wait, that's fine. You don't have to disclose anything. But I had just had I had a question about the power that such a thing might have, and whether it would be. Well, there. You know what? Never mind. Carry on.
Yeah, we've all got questions, but rarely answers.
Wow.
Question 5.
Okay.
Goblibet, by author Ken Priebe, is a curious collection of 26 goblins who are under trial for the mysterious murder of the king. So here's the question. The 3 guilty characters who committed the crime are...
You're expecting me to give the secret away?
I just wanted
Are
to
you
see
trying to trap me?
Maybe.
Graham, you know, Graham,
It depends.
he's sneaky sometimes. Oh, let me rephrase that. Graham thinks he's sneaky sometimes.
Ken, it depends on how much you want to get the question right.
Well, you see, I'm not at liberty to say because there are penalties for giving the secret away, especially for someone like myself who was involved in writing this little thing.
Yeah, Graham.
It's a dangerous business working with goblins, and I don't want to put myself on record as breaking any of their bylaws because they have many tools and amulets and different things that hurt a lot.
Okay, that's fair enough. I was just trying to see if I could get you to slip up. All right, Ken, you did excellent on this quiz. We give you a thoroughly passing grade. Great work.
Oh, yay.
Thoroughly passing.
Thoroughly passing?
Thoroughly.
Neutrally buoyant?
Neutrally.
Passing? I have passed with neutralist buoyancy.
Exactly. Hey, we have our word of the week coming up. Before we do that, I want to ask one question Eliana has that, it's just too good of a question to not ask it. So she asks, if you had to choose one thing to save from a burning house that is not a person or a pet, what would it be?
One thing to save from a burning house that is not a person or a pet. My French coffee press. Most likely.
Just because you need to have coffee ASAP?
Because I would probably need to have coffee ASAP. I would also try to pray that I could somehow grow really giant and strong arms so that I could get all of my books out of the house.
So the French coffee press.
Yes.
This is not a right or a wrong answer. I'm just confused by that answer. Because couldn't you get another French press?
Well, you could.
Or is it like part amulet? Is it an amulet French press?
Yes, it's very special.
Oh,
it's
okay.
enchanted.
Oh, well then say no more. And I mean, literally say no more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See,
we don't want to get in trouble.
My French coffee press is enchanted, therefore it's the only one in existence.
Oh,
I
well,
would
then,
have to save it,
yeah.
or else the coffee just wouldn't taste the same.
Makes sense. I totally get it now. I just wanted to. I just need to follow up and see if there was, what was at the heart of that answer. Okay, Ken,
right.
It is time.
It's all I could think of.
Well, I mean, it just tells us that you love coffee.
And books.
And books, yeah. Okay, so it's time for the word of the week. when we try to figure out what a crazy English word means, and we try to figure out how close we can get to what it actually means. But in order to get this word, Graham is going to have to go down and endure the scary basement, have a little conference with the bookstore troll, and figure out what he wants from us this time in exchange for the word. Because, Ken, during the off season, between seasons 2 and 3, I made a word of the week dictionary thinking, we're going to be so prepared. But then I put it on the bookshelf. I put it on the shelf in the bookstore, and I thought, this seems like the right place for a book, shelf in a bookstore. Huh. But the bookstore troll, being petty, and as bookstore trolls are, he took it. And so now we have to do a little negotiation with him every week. Graham, you want to head down there? Are you ready? Or do you need to put on a helmet this time?
Well, no, I don't think I do need to put on a helmet this time, because if you remember last time, he was asking for a name. And we told him, we'll get back to you next week.
Yeah, we're going to ask the kids.
So, yeah, we've come up with that name, and I'm going to take it down to him and see if he approves. So I'm not scared. I'm not scared this time.
Which name are we gonna officially give him? What was the leading vote getter?
This one.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Perfect. All right. Well, go on. I mean, good luck.
I'll be back.
Be brave.
Okay. You won't believe this. I did not have to slide it under the door. He opened the door.
I don't believe it.
Face to face, I handed him the note with our proposed name. He gave me a knowing nod and handed me this word and closed the door. I think we're on pretty good terms with this bookstore troll right now, and he likes his new name.
Okay, great. So when can we start calling him that name? Are we supposed to start calling him that right away? Are we supposed to call him that next week, next season? Do we know? Did you get it in writing? Because I don't want to accidentally call him the wrong thing.
I didn't ask any follow-ups. We'll figure it out.
Okay. Well, we should probably get it in writing, because trolls, if you don't get everything in writing, it's just hard to maintain your friendship with a troll if it's not in writing.
Yeah, we have a lot of contracts with the troll.
Yeah, that's why he hasn't eaten us yet.
I totally understand.
Okay, well, here's the word of the week. Okay, so let me just open this sheet of paper. Okay, here it is. I don't know how to pronounce this word, guys. Okay, I think it's gob mouche. Gobamouche. Gobmouche is how you spell it. Gobmouche. You guys, what do you think? How do you think you say that?
Gobamouche. Is you sure not to Gobamouche?
Gobamouche.
Is it all one word or is it two words?
Oh, it's all one word.
Really?
Is there any accent marks or umlauts, David?
There are none, according to this. According to the word of the week dictionary, which was stolen by the troll.
Okay.
So yeah, let's take a break. Our brains are breaking right now, just trying to figure out how to say it. So you can't imagine what it's gonna be like trying to figure out what it means. So we'll take a quick break. We're gonna write down what we think it is, and we will be back to share that, and then inevitably be nowhere close to what it actually means. Be right back. Okay, we are back, and we have written down what we think this crazy word means. Gobmouche. Our custom is to have Graham go first, then I will go, and then our special guest will go third, and then of course we will do the big reveal. Graham, what do you think this word means?
Okay, so if it's pronounced Gobmouche, that is a mustache that you grow so long that you then have to tuck it behind your ears. But if it's pronounced Gobamouche, that refers to the little clips that you put on the end of your mustache and to secure it to your ear. So it all depends.
That's nothing like what I think it means, because I think that Gobmouche is a dessert which is made with a duck fat pudding and a cherry-filled pastry combined with a duck confit and shaved wildflowers. It's known to be a delicacy among Norwegian whalers and also Norwegian whales. So it's a little bit of a sweet and savory thing at the same time.
It's heavy on the duck. I'll say that.
Right. Well, I mean, Norway. I don't actually, is that,
yes.
I don't know if that's a thing in Norway, but we're going to go with it. Ken, what do you think Gobmouche or Gobamouche or whatever this word means?
Well, this is where my Canadian side is going to come out because...
is it about hockey?
It's not quite, but it's I have a theory that it's not actually an English word. It's actually a French word, because you see that we don't actually have electricity up here in Canada. We have every house has an apparatus. And so what a go-mouche actually is the special treadmill that we all have behind our house. And on the treadmill is a moose, and dangling in front of the moose's head is a big jar of maple syrup. And the moose is trying to get to the maple syrup because he's hungry, and you're never supposed to feed the moose at all. You never feed him donuts or back bacon or anything, because he's just trying to get to the maple syrup. And that's his sole purpose. And the go-mouche is the special treadmill apparatus that the moose is running on, which is what gives us electricity, keeps us warm in winter. And it's what's allowing me to talk to you guys through the magic of the interwebs right now. All thanks to the moose on the go-mouche treadmill.
I have heard legends from my Canadian family about such things, but I never knew what it was called. This explains that.
So you're saying that Moose is working hard right now.
Yes.
Overtime.
Very hard. Overtime. Yeah.
All right, guys.
But he's happy. He's totally glad to do it, though.
He's doing what he was made to do, right?
He is.
It's like that guy in Chariots of Fire that just wants to run.
Yes, all for God's glory.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Go mouche or whatever. Okay. Here's what it actually means. Okay. This is a word that has to just be part of common speech. Go mouche or whatever it is a highly gullible person. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Is that a trick answer?
Gullible person. I mean, that's
because by saying that, you could be trying to call.
It's true. I'm not
because
trying to trick you, though.
We're so gullible that we believe you.
And David, if you're if you think this word should be part of the vernacular, then we better all learn how to pronounce it correctly.
I just clicked on a thing that says pronunciation, and it says gobmouche. Gobmouche.
Oh,
gobmouche.
Gobmouche.
Well, that makes sense.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's Word of the Week. Everybody should start using gobmouche when referring to whenever you're playing tricks on your little siblings, because everybody knows that little siblings are gullible, and now you have a word to call them. But maybe you shouldn't call them that, because then people will think you're being mean and insulting them, because gobmouche doesn't sound like that nice of a word. I don't know. It sounds like a whole thing to introduce this into common speech. So maybe we should just not.
That sounds fair.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Ken, you're going to have to be the official voice on that. If it's going to be introduced into common parlance, then I think it needs to be introduced in a future Ken Priebe book. And so we'll let you decide exactly whether or not that should happen next time you write a book.
Well, there you go. I shall endeavor to be worthy of my post.
Okay. Speaking of the next things that you're working on, what are you working on next?
I am currently working on a novel. It's very in the early stages. I've only written a few chapters, but it's something that's kind of been in the back burner of my head for quite a long time. And the ideas sort of have come together over the past few months since Goblin was wrapped up, and I needed something else to work on. And I'm always chipping away at several book projects at once. So I do have a few ideas for other shorter form books that I still intend on putting out. But as of right now, this is the one that seems to have moved to the front burner. So I'm working on that right now. It's a fantasy. It takes place in a fantasy world. It involves a sea voyage and people made out of wood and a couple of refugee children who stow away on a ship and go on an adventure. And that's all I will say about it for now, because I don't even know exactly everything that's going to happen.
Could you be called gobmouche?
I will have to find out a way to put that in there.
Goblin, gobmouche, I'm just trying to put some things together here. All right, Graham, let's wrap this thing up with a very important final question.
Yeah, David's trying to be your creative director here. All right, so Ken, is there a author or illustrator friend or just somebody you would like to see come on our podcast and, as we say, endure the slings and arrows of With You.
Let's see. I think you guys should give Jeffrey Overstreet a call.
You know what?
Get him on the show.
5 minutes ago, I was thinking about that. I'm not kidding. 5 minutes ago.
Well, we do tend to share brainwaves. So because he's just across the border from me in Seattle, Seattle to Vancouver, there's a lot of weird, percolations of things that happen across that border.
He's kind of been in like an internet. I've never met him in person, but kind of an internet friend of mine for a while now. And I've interviewed him a couple times for other stuff, but never really about his kids' books. And those stories are really fun. That's a great idea. Yeah,
his fantasy novel series is probably a bit for older kids, but I've heard a lot of kids have enjoyed his books, and he's just a great creative guy to talk to. And
he's hilarious.
Yeah,
Muppet fan as well.
Huge Muppet fan. That's one of the ways we connected. He's a very dear friend, and I think he would have a blast with you guys.
Yeah, that'd be fun. Ken, thank you so much. We had a blast talking to you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for the Goblin Bet. And we're going to get back to work trying to solve this thing. Graham's not allowed to sleep until he does, which is why he hasn't been feeling well. But Graham, get back to work. Ken, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Leon, we are back. We are back. Thanks so much to Ken Priebe for coming on. And of course, don't forget that you can head over to bandersnatchbooks.com and use that code WITHYWINDLE, WITHYWINDLE, to get a discount on that book. It's a great conversation.
Yeah.
But that brings us to Riddle time.
Riddle time.
Riddle time.
I've been drinking this cream soda with these chopsticks, and it's been...
I can see it. It's slow going. Most of it is still in the bottle.
Slow going, but... No, it's bad. I'm going to stop.
Snack snatch.
Riddle time.
Riddle time.
Last week, I gave you a riddle about Julian. Julian has a big bushy beard and
really likes shaving. Right?
Really likes shaving. So he shaves up to 25 times per day.
Seems like a lot.
Yeah, excessive. You might consider that excessive. Yet, at the end of each day, he still has a really big beard. How can this be? The answer to the riddle...
He has 25 faces.
Like the character in Phantom Tollbooth.
His hair grows really fast.
The dodecahedron. That's interesting. The answer that we were looking for was that Julian is a barber.
Oh, so he shaves other people.
He's shaving other people.
Oh, yeah.
However,
Yep.
However,
we got some good answers, huh?
We got good answers, and I don't know why we didn't think of these before. Some people said, well, Julian just shaves his legs, his head, his armpits, any other part of his body. That's why he could still have a beard. Totally acceptable. That's a great answer. Other people said he just shaves a tiny part of his beard. Also correct. So this is an interesting one, because this one,
we can say that an answer is right or wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna say these are correct, because those both.
I think you're being generous.
Generous
Graham.
That's what they should call me. Yeah, I think these are good answers, and we're going to accept them.
And of course, that means that all those correct answers were entered into our pool of correct answers for the whole season.
Yes.
And after next week's episode, we're going to draw a winner. We're going to select one of those winners to win a book bundle from Goldberry Books.
Very cool. So that was the last riddle of season 3.
But don't worry. We're not going to end this episode quite yet. We have to decide on this name. We have to announce the official name for the Bookstore Troll. So we had 3 finalists, right, Graham?
Yeah, so the kids voted. We had lots of emails, and I was tallying them up, and yes, we have 3. And those 3 were Garglehauser, Clonk, and Cheesecake.
They're all good. And thanks, of course, to the Wilson Boys for the original nominees.
Yeah.
Shout out to them.
But as you heard, we brought one down to him.
We did, and he accepted it.
He accepted it, and that one was...
Garglehauser! Or should we say it differently?
Garglehauser?
Garglehauser.
Now, I don't know, so Garglehauser, the Bookstore Troll,
Yeah.
I still don't feel like comfortable just being like, hey, what's up, Garglehauser?
What's up, Big G?
So I don't know if we need to, I don't know.
We're gonna have to
it feels weird.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get used to it. We've been calling him Bookstore Troll for so long.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when I finally realized your name was Graham after all those years, and I had been calling you Dum Dum for so long. When it came time to finally call you Graham,
Yeah, it felt weird.
took me until like a month ago.
Right.
Right. You know,
It was,
so.
okay, so what you're saying is like there's an onboarding process.
Right.
Okay.
And so sometimes every now and then, like I accidentally say, hey, Dum Dum, and you know who I'm talking
I know
about.
exactly.
You know, right.
My ears, they
It's
start
because
to
you kind of
perk
secretly
up.
know that it's like not the wrong name for you. It's like it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I like
Graham's not-
being,
your
like-
parents gave you Graham, so
Yeah, and like I don't mind being referred to as that delicious tiny sucker.
yeah, the little lollipop thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which flavor would you be?
Mystery.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. You're wrong.
Mystery.
You're wrong. You wouldn't be. You'd be like pineapple or something.
I'd be like the
Everybody wants to be a mystery flavor.
well, you would be the boring like butterscotch then. Fine.
You love butterscotch.
I know.
Don't lie.
I know.
Secret thing about Mr. Dum Dum over here is he likes butterscotch.
Who doesn't like butterscotch?
I don't know. Everybody likes butterscotch. I don't know. There's probably a kid out there who just said, "Ugh,
Yeah.
Garglehauser."
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of kids chomping on Werther's Originals. That's not true. Every grandparent makes sure there's kids chomping on Werther's Originals.
That's true. Okay, so Garglehauser is the name of the bookstore troll.
Yeah.
He has accepted it. We shall endeavor to call him Garglehauser.
Yep.
Each time we encounter him, it'll take some practice. But by the time we get to season 4, inevitably we will be pros at calling him Garglehauser.
It is a great name because gargle is just like a gross,
Gargle.
a visceral sound. And then Hauser, like house. He kind of lives in our house. Like the bookstore.
That's right.
Bookstore is kind of the house.
It's true.
So he's the gargle of the house.
That's right. It also almost sounds like gargoyle.
Gargoyle. Yeah.
Very mythical, creaturely word.
So this was the last episode proper where we kind of do all the segments and
Yeah,
have
the
a
usuals.
guest like that. And so is there anything kids need to know about next week?
Well, next week, as we mentioned, we're going to just be focusing on our conversation, our question Pathriza, our question Palooza 3 with Karina Yang-Glazer.
Question Palooza 3 featuring Karina Yang Glazer.
So you can send in your questions to us at podcast@goldberrybooks.com. And they can be for Karina. They can be for all of us. They can be about the Vanderbeekers. They can be about her new book. They can be about cream soda. They can be about
Yep.
gargling salt water. They can be about printers with legs. They can be about pine trees. They can be about pop socks. They can be about regular socks. They can be about chocolate chip cookies. They can be about butterscotch cookies. You get the point. They can be about anything.
They could be about how you want to sponsor season 4. They could also be questions for the bookstore troll. We don't know if we'd actually let him answer any on the air, but now that he has his own podcast.
Probably not.
Garglehauser featuring Garglehauser.
The Gargle Pod.
Gargle Pod with Garglehauser.
Exactly. Well, Graham, that brings us to the end of another episode of Withy Windle, the 9th episode of the 3rd season, 3.9.
Yes, 3.9.
Congratulations on making it through 9 more episodes and still being you.
We did it. I'm so glad. One more episode and you